wears his Sunday best. Mother's tired, she needs a rest. The kids are playing up downstairs. Sister's sighing in her sleep. Brother's got a date to keep, he can't hang around. Io's house in the middle of our street. Io's house in the middle of our...
5 seconds away from the moment of truth. And here it comes.
Draw. The fourth ball is number 13.
Holy shnikes. Let's make it official, Bill Daly.
The winner of the 2025 NHL Draft Lottery and the first overall selection in the 2025 Upper Deck NHL Draft belongs to the New York Islanders.
Do you believe in miracles, Kenny Morrow? Because your team has pulled it off. The New York Islanders have won the NHL Draft Lottery.
Isles House, first overall pick. What a day. And before we get into it, a little bit of housekeeping. Follow us on Twitter, @Isles House. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify. And of course, we are now on Patreon. Thank you to all those who have signed up already. After the Islanders got the first overall pick, the Discord channel was absolutely popping. Check out the link to our Patreon in our Twitter bio. You get a bunch of extras. You get access to our Discord, ability to ask us questions for the podcast, extra content, as well as access to our NHL Insider channel, what we're hearing about the Islanders out around the league. Gentlemen, what a glorious, glorious evening it is on Long Island. Beautiful, rainy Long Island. From 3% chance to the first overall pick. The most obvious rig job in NHL history. I couldn't be more proud of Ledecky Malkin, Gary Bettman, and Kathy Hochul. Thank you so much for making this happen. Boys, how are we feeling?
Do you believe in miracles? Since it was Ken Morrow who was representing.
Yeah,
Do you believe
in
in miracles, boys?
I really can't. I mean, I'm just at a loss of words. Thank God. Thank you, Gary Bettman. And wow, as Ethan said, what a day to be a fan of this team.
Yeah, I'm still in shock, honestly. I don't think I've fully processed it yet. I've called, I think, everyone in this group to talk about it in between the time it went down and the time we are now recording. I'm very excited. It changes so many things, and we just got to get into it on the spot. Let's get it rolling.
Before we do, we have to acknowledge this. When a lot of us were growing up, how bad the team was a bunch of years. We've had the fourth overall pick with Ryan Strome, Nino Niederreiter, Griffin Reinhart, and it's just unbelievable to me how the second time in the last decade they really have a chance at the first overall pick. They get it. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to discuss. A lot of change with the Islanders has already happened, is coming down the pipe, and this just adds to, I don't know, just how momentous of an evening this was. I'm sure everyone's going to have their own draft lottery stories, superstitions. I'm eating dinner with my family, telling my wife, hey, the draft lottery is tonight. I'm probably not going to watch it. I'm just going to go to the gym. The Islanders have a 3% chance. I get to the gym at 6:55. Planet Fitness has the most dog shit Wi-Fi of any place I've ever been. I'm like, you know what? I'm pulling up the app. I got people texting me all day. Dude, they're going to win it. I just have this feeling all day. I'm saying there's no shot. Absolutely no shot. We never get this lucky. This isn't happening. I go. I'm doing my chest press. They start doing the rundown of how this all works. Push, doing my sets. Done. First string of balls. Islanders go from 3-point whatever to 6-point something. I'm like, okay. Countdown starts. Another set on the chest press. Stop. Pick up the phone. Goes from 6 something to 9 something. I go, I just got to keep doing exactly what I'm doing. Put the phone down. Countdown starts. Another set of chest press. Pick it up. It's 18%. And I know that this is not how math works, but seeing that the Islanders had 2 balls, 5 and 13, as their outs for the first overall pick, it was only at that moment did I have confidence that they were getting this done. Between the All-Star game, the Hochul letter, and now 18% with numbers 5 and 13, I was not moving. I knew this was a done deal and that this was happening. Maybe the only moment of optimism I've had about this team over the last calendar year. And it was just, I haven't really gone through the timeline too extensively, but I'm already very excited to watch the videos that people probably recorded of themselves getting the pick. This is a franchise altering pick. Not just for the fact that they're getting who they determine to be the best player in the draft, but they have a new arena. They're going to have a new president of hockey operations, perhaps also a new general manager. They have gone from over the last calendar year to having a bottom of the league prospect pool to now having Danny Nelson, Cole Iserman, Bednarik, first overall pick, Cal Ritchie.
George.
I mean, that's just absolutely unbelievable. To have a team where, and we will probably still have these debates over the next few months, leading into the draft, free agency, through the summer into next season, whether or not this team needs to stay on the path that they're on, do a retool, tear it all down and do a rebuild. I believe that this sort of gives us our answer. That maybe what Rocco and I were preaching about the team needing to take a step back and taking a gap year, maybe no more. Depending on who they pick, this player could come in right away and make a difference. I don't even remember what I was saying. Shout out to producer Greeny for cutting out when my dog rudely interrupted my optimistic rant regarding the New York Islanders. But this pick, you have the prospect pool, new president of hockey operations, potentially a new GM. You're going to have new members of the coaching staff, the new arena, ownership willing to spend, and an ownership group that still wants to compete next season. This becomes a destination for executives, for players. And that's big. It's big, big, big. It helps a tremendous amount. And I think genuinely it increases the odds of the Islanders doing well in free agency and a GM coming in here or a POHO and being like, okay, it's time to flip some of these pieces and really turn this team into a contender.
I was just going to say it's classic insider to not be like in front of your computer and ready to tweet when this was going on. Instead, you're lifting 2-pound weights at the gym. Very, very upsetting.
65 chest press, but that's okay.
I actually have not exactly similar, but ties into Ethan's whole thing. So I got to the gym like a couple hours before I had to jump into work. And I'm like, every time I go in, I'm thinking, all right, what kind of playlist today, whatever. And this is how superstitious I am. I'm thinking back. I'm going, when was the last time they had the number 1 overall pick? Okay, 2009. So I literally type in best of 2009 playlist, and that was my playlist for the day. So shout out Down by Jay Sean and Poker Face by Lady Gaga, because it got the fucking job done today, baby. '09 playlist, put us over the top. We won. I'm ecstatic. And honestly, after this tough year, one of the best feelings on Twitter directly after is obviously celebrating with mutual Islander fans, but also seeing the fans of rival teams try to cope. Oh, like, you guys aren't going to be good, this and that, yada, yada. Well, guess what? Were we mid? Yeah. But now we're mid with a young stud coming and a Cal Ritchie coming, Iserman coming, all these names, as Ethan said. So I think it totally changes how you go about this summer. Let's say you pick a Misa, who I think is pretty much ready to go in the NHL. You go all in on one of the free agents if it's possible. You go, if Marner's there, go get him. If Ehlers is there, even if you have to overpay by $1 million or $2 million, because now you can benefit off this entry-level deal of a player like Misa, and you want to maximize that, right? You want to really go all in while that player is on the entry-level deal, if it's possible. I'm not saying throw a bag at random guys, but how nice would an Ehlers look next to Barzal, Horvat, Misa, Ritchie, all these other guys now? It enhances everything. It makes us more attractive for GMs, coaches, POHOs, as well as players, because suddenly we went from an old stale team to a team that does have some talent in guys like Barzal, Horvat, Sorokin, and a young prospect pool that's coming up. So very exciting times. I still can't believe it. And I'm just going to kick it over to Jack now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess since February now, the trajectory of this franchise has just changed so much in 2 months. There's just really no words for it. I mean, we get Cal Ritchie, 20-year-old center. Now we have our choice at a franchise defenseman or a franchise forward, and it's just crazy. It's almost like a dream. Like when they said that the New York Islanders have won the draft lottery, it was actually the best feeling I think any of us have had since probably like the 2021 Eastern Conference Finals run. But yeah, just a crazy day, and just like your mind goes so many places, you start thinking of so many questions. What are they going to do with the pick? It seems to me, as someone that's more of a casual when it comes to tracking the prospect pool and everything like that. So James Hagan seemed like the first overall pick consensus wise going into this season. Now it appears that he's fallen off a little bit. And although he is the Long Island kid, taking him at this point seems like it would be pretty controversial. So it seems like it's going to be between Schaefer and Misa. And I don't know. I'm just really excited to dive into it for the next few months and really see. But there's so many different ways you can go with this. This team needs a top pair defenseman, and we all definitely know they need scorers. So, wow, definitely moved well into the right direction today.
Rocco, are you rooting for Misa for the Misa pizza or
I
no?
mean, I'm not going to say it doesn't go into it, but we've all seen our Isles House top 10, top 15 back when we thought we'd probably be picking 10. And both Tyler and I really dug deep, did our research on these prospects, and we both liked Misa over Schaefer. Now, Schaefer has really exceptional talent. Like, I don't like when people say Cale Makar because I think Cale Makar is like a one-of-a-kind player. It's not fair to compare anyone to him. But I would compare a guy like Schaefer to like a Miro Heiskanen, and I'd compare a Misa to a Braden Point type. That's where I see them potential-wise. And it's all about what you want. Personally, I'm on the side of going number one center over number one defenseman. I know other people may think differently. That's fine. I also think, let's say it's close come draft night. Like, Islander scouts have Misa and Schaefer neck and neck. Something that may cross the owner's mind is who's ready to go, who's going to sell tickets, and who's going to be more exciting for this next upcoming season after we just lost a good number of season ticket holders because of the disaster of a season we just had. I think Michael Misa is the only player in this draft that is ready for the NHL next season. So I do think if it's close come draft day, I do think they go Misa. That being said, there are people, I know Cam Robinson is a huge Schaefer fan. A lot of prospect people think he's out and out the number one guy. I'm not going to be upset if they take Schaefer, but Misa, I think, is the sexier pick, if you will.
And can I ask, since you guys were really reading up on these prospects, like, compare the top couple of prospects to like previous drafts. I'm not saying that these guys are generational, like a McDavid, someone like that. Obviously, they're not at that level, but what kind of impact do you think the top three guys could have on an organization? Are they at that level?
So obviously they're not at the McDavid, McCarr, McKinnon type levels, I don't believe. I think they go into that tier right below. I think Misa could have Jack Hughes level impact, if that's fair to say. Jack Hughes, Jack Eichel. I know Higgins is often compared to Hughes. That's a perfect world. I see him more as a Logan Cooley type guy where year 1, year 2, he takes time. And then by year 3, year 4, he really starts to grow into his body and become a higher level player. But yeah, I would say they're definitely like the Misas and the Schaefers. It's really like, I would say impact level, you could compare a Schaefer to probably like a Dahlin. Many say he's the best defensive prospect in a draft since Dahlin, at least pre-draft hype-wise. And Misa, impact-wise, like just as far as, I'm not saying he's a similar type player, just the impact he'll have on his team. This might be a little bit of a reach, but maybe like an Eichel type where he's just below that, comes into the league 50, 60 points. I think he has that sort of potential. and Ethan and I have talked about this a lot as far as Misa. He doesn't really have a weakness. Like some people might say he's small, he needs to grow into his body, but he's really not that small of a dude. So Misa's the one where I really don't see a weakness. There's not great weaknesses with Schaefer to point out, but the one thing that does scare me a bit is he missed most of this season. So yeah, it could be a one-off injury wise, but if you're picking him over Misa, like it's all got to be convincing to me. So like I said, right now I'm team Misa, but subject to change.
Well, and before I kick it over to Ethan, I just pulled up like the athletics rankings. They had Schaefer 1, Misa 2. Misa's 6'1", so he's not like the biggest center, but he's also not small. And they were comparing him to I'll bleep out his name, but you know,
I actually, to be honest with you, I don't like that comparison at all because I
Me
think
neither.
I think one, because the man he's being compared to is a piece of shit. Two, it's just like skill set wise, I don't like it because, as I said, Misa, I don't see a weakness. I'll be honest with you, with the snake, he was never a good skater. I think
Yeah,
Misa's
Rocco, I
already
was
a
gonna
better
say, like
skater.
you watched way more film than I did on Misa, although I've watched a fair bit. The impression I get is that he's got much better hands and he's a much better skater.
That's why I point out Braden Point because he's got that little like water bug style to go along with the scoring touch as well as speed. Like that's kind of where what popped off the screen to me is like he reminds me a lot of Point. Like we remember from those playoff series when Braden Point would just get the puck, split the defense, make a nice move, put one top shelf. Like that's the type of player I think Misa could really be. And I really see him as a similar impact, perhaps even at a younger age. Because as we remember, I believe Point was a second round pick and took a couple years to develop. I think he could be an earlier developing Braden Point.
I also, before I read just a couple of Misa stats, I really think that one thing that we're very much undervaluing here when we're doing the projections and the comps is that let's just say they take Misa, right? This is a guy who's going to be thrust immediately into a top six role, a top six next year that very likely includes Barzell, Horvat, Holmstrom, Lee, players of that caliber. We have to remember, and I know it's going to be tough to forget, but the Islanders jumped from projected to pick 11th all the way up to the first overall pick. So we're not talking about the 10th, whatever. See, I'm shocked it took you guys that long to jump in. Jumping from 10 to first overall. Like, we're not talking about a pre-Bedard Blackhawks or a pre-Sharks Celebrini. We're talking about a team that has established stars. Are they super duper stars? No, but they are stars in their own right. And this, whoever it is coming into a roster not completely devoid of talent. There's plenty of talent there.
Now
Just
we
not...
want to glaze lose roster.
No,
huh?
no. Listen, there's talent there. It's just not
There's
very
Jack.
deep.
They're not bottom of the barrel, is what Ethan's trying to
Right,
say.
they're not bottom of the barrel. They're just not a very deep roster.
Well, that was your
And-
guys' problem with them. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
fair.
So, the former exceptional status player, Michael Misa, just recorded the most OHL points in a season since Patrick Kane and Greeny Bleep It, John Tavares, nearly 20 years ago. And then a comp for Misa, let's see here. Misa's insane pace in his draft year without an equally insane D-1 isn't something we see often. Marian Hossa and Will Smith did so. Should be a pretty good player. Good feeling about him. To me, Rocco, you took the words right out of my mouth when you started talking about Misa. You and I have both heard, and I don't think this is going to shock anyone. This isn't an ownership group that particularly wants to take a step back. I've been told numerous times, and I quote, they want to compete. And Hagens is going to have to marinate another year in college. Schaefer, another year in the OHL. I don't actually think he's eligible for Bridgeport should he be drafted. So Misa, I believe, is good enough and has the talent and is a fit in the top six to the point where they pick him, he's in the lineup, like immediately. And you throw into the fact Cal Ritchie, dude made the Avalanche roster out of camp last year. Didn't stick, but that just goes to show the level of talent that he has. He's going to be in the lineup next year. So with a little bit of luck and and a good trade. The Islanders have two top prospects under the age of 21 projected to be in their opening night lineup next year. And I think that's just tremendous and unbelievable.
There was one other thing that you didn't include with Michael Misa. He was one of 8 players to receive the OHL exemption status as a teenager.
Yeah.
So I looked it up. So the other players to receive that status, you have Misa, who is the 8th. You had Connor Bedard was the last one to receive it. Shane Wright in 2019. Joe Veleno, who is terrible. Sean Day also was a miss.
Yuck.
But then before that, you had McDavid, Aaron Ekblad, and then I'll bleep this again.
Yep. Good company for the most part.
Pretty decent company.
The fact that they have these 2 players now, even though we don't know who one of them is, under team control at that salary for the next few years just opens up so much possibility. It's like, it reminds me of the rookie quarterback in the NFL. Like, you got to take advantage of it. Just an unbelievable day.
Yeah. Should we get into what we want them to do with this pick? Or at least let's just discuss the options here. So
this is Hedman and all over again.
It really is.
Like,
it really is. Bleep it, but that really is.
Yeah.
And then Higgins is Duchesne.
So
there you
true.
go.
Honestly,
do we have an Evander Kane in this draft?
Not yet.
Porter Martone maybe would fill that role.
McQueen or Stone? Who's the big guy?
Martone and McQueen are both big dudes, but Martone's the one that's going to go like at the top of the draft. McQueen's going to be in the late single digits, 10s type thing.
Yeah.
Jack, give them time to go bankrupt.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right. So, ton of options here. You stay put. You take who you believe is the highest impact player, almost 100% Misa or Schaefer. Now, all right, some interesting things can be done after that. The Hauppauge boy, Mr. Higgins. Many have him projected to go around 3, 4, 5. What do you do there? I mean, could the Islanders trade back 1 to 2 spots and accumulate more picks, some prospects, take Higgins deep in the prospect pool? Could they stay put at 1? They have 226 firsts. They have maybe a Noah Dobson that they don't want to pay a shitload of money to. Do they then trade back into the first round and draft one of Misa and Schaefer and James Higgins? Is this just a total pipe dream and I'm fucking crazy? I just think that there are plenty of options that the Islanders may have.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, it's probably a pipe dream, right? But you have to weigh all options here. And one of my favorite GMs, executives in the sports world is Theo Epstein. And I watched the Red Sox comeback documentary recently. And when he was hired for the job, he kind of spoke about how he went through his process and how they handled things with certain players. And one of my favorite lines from him from that doc was, quote unquote, be bold. And what he meant by that is you're going to have to make some decisions that are tough, but it could really benefit you in the end. And you have to take those sort of risks if you want to put your team over the top. So one idea that I thought of that you could sort of attempt to leverage another team is using the San Jose Sharks, who have a ton of forward prospects and desperately need a defensive stud to sort of complete their prospect pool. I think maybe, and maybe this is overanalyzing, but you try to put word out there that you're taking Schaefer and almost have the Sharks try to come get that pick. Perhaps trading an extra pick, whatever else, because if you could swap that with them and move down to 2, I don't really think you're losing much talent-wise. I think Schaefer and Misa are in that first tier alone. And I say this as a James Higgins stan, but he's probably the tier below, at least value-wise in this draft. So there are options. You could try to be bold, as Theo Epstein would say, but realistically, you probably pick your guy, whoever you like, take him number 1, and start the turnaround of this franchise.
So the last, I was just curious, the last time the first overall pick was traded was 1998. The Florida Panthers actually traded that pick. They were picking first, and they swapped with the Lightning, who were picking second. The Lightning took Vinny Lecavalier. That was the last time that it happened. So it
Who
was
went
at
second?
second was David Legwand.
Good trade for them.
Yeah. So like it hasn't happened often. It's only happened a handful of times, but it's been 27 years since the last time someone traded the first pick prior to the draft.
Yeah, it's few and far between. It's just one of those things. Whoever comes in and is the POHO or GM or whatever else, you do have to weigh your options. Yes, if it's a McDavid type draft, you don't even listen to it. But when there's two guys that could both go number one, you never know. Maybe a team below you is absolutely in love with one of the players and you see them as equals and you can take advantage of that situation.
Right, that's the thing. We don't know how other teams are going to be evaluating this crop. So that's probably the number one factor in how you navigate the draft if you want to trade back and accrue assets.
And so I was actually thinking this. So a good question for you guys. I guess it's a two-part question. One, do you think this puts more urgency on the franchise hiring somebody for their front office roles to have someone in place as soon as possible? And I guess the second part of the question would be, does this open up the search even further and bring people into the mix that might not have been in the mix previously?
Okay, a couple ways to answer that question. I'll try to go in reverse. Does it bring new people into the mix? No, I don't think so. I think at this point they're fairly settled on a group that they'd be happy with. Number two, I don't necessarily. Okay, let me put it this way. I'd be a little surprised if the hire wasn't already projected to be made this week. I also, here's my thing, and I apply this really to the NFL too, where you bring in scouts or executives from other teams, and listen, assuming that they're currently employed in some capacity in the NHL already, people act like they haven't already been scouting this group of players. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily think it's this super urgent matter like, oh, we need to hire these scouts and these front office folks immediately. They already have people in place to do that. I don't think there's going to be this huge overhaul immediately. It may be like a year-long process, but I think that whoever this new GM is, or POHO first, is already going to be familiar with the top of the class. Like, listen, if you're in the NHL and you're doing your job, or you are an advisor and you are advising a GM, chances are you're paying very close attention to this stuff. So personally, it's not a huge worry of mine.
I'm going to circle back to the discussion we were having on like the options with the first overall pick. There's just an idea that I have. So your first overall pick is either going to be like as Greeny labeled it before. It's kind of like the John Tavares, Victor Hedman situation where you have a franchise forward and a franchise defenseman. My question to you guys is there anything that we can trade for maybe the second or third overall pick that could lead you to a situation where suddenly you have your franchise defenseman and you get to maybe bring Hagens home, or you even try to go up to get number two to get Misa? Like, what package do you think can get them that? Like, is Noah Dobson worth that? Like, would you be okay with the Islanders trading next year's first round pick for that?
Are you
Just an
saying
idea.
adding a pick in addition to this one?
So what I'm saying is we're going to get the first overall pick. We're either going to get a franchise forward or a franchise defenseman. So, okay, this team does have a good prospect pool now, but what if they were like, you know what, let's just put all of our future into this draft. Let's send the first next year and another good player, maybe a late round pick next year too, and let's put it all into the first and second pick this season and ride with these guys moving forward. Is that a crazy idea?
I don't think it's crazy. I mean, I think we need to talk out the scenario a bit more. I think obviously the most likely and the one that people are going to want to talk about is Noah Dobson. And what it's going to come down to is, one, how do other teams view Noah Dobson? And is it more favorable than Islanders fans and maybe the Islanders front office view Noah Dobson? And he's obviously an asset that there are some teams out there are going to want. But a lot of people may think, okay, Noah Dobson to the Sharks or Chicago, and we'll get their first round pick. Okay, but that team is also going to have to shell out a lot of money on a long-term deal for Noah Dobson. So yeah, I mean, the Islanders are trading for an unproven asset with Noah Dobson, but the team receiving him is going to have to commit term and money right then and there. On top of the fact that, I mean, to me, listen, that's like a no-brainer. Like, I personally would do it. Like, I would trade Noah Dobson plus something to go up and get one of Misa, Schaefer, and Higgins because I have no interest in paying Noah Dobson a penny, let alone a team-friendly deal. If they wanted to spend the first overall pick on Schaefer and then trade Dobson, go up and get Higgins, I'd be thrilled. But it's going to be a more complicated deal than I think many would just think about on top.
Yeah, I think this is where we're starting to get in fairy tale land. Like, it's a nice thought, and obviously Dobson would have to be the asset going the other way, but it doesn't seem super realistic to do something like that. Is it more of an option now than it ever was because they have the number 1 overall pick? I guess so, but I think honestly, if you can't work out a deal with Dobson, instead of trading for an unknown asset, like Ethan said, trade him for like a player now. Look for a team that has a guy in a similar situation, RFA, and maybe that guy needs a change of scenery as well. You could find more win now type players for Noah Dobson type trade if it comes down to that, I'd say.
With that, I think we can move back into the GM discussion we were having. Where exactly were we on that? Is it time?
Thank you, producer.
I love how Jack was not going to look at his phone once this episode because the ADHD was acting up, and we're halfway through the episode, and we have to have our producer repeat the question for him.
I was
Greeny, go ahead.
Okay, so Jack, the question before it was like a 2-pronged question. Do you think that them getting the first pick now forces them or encourages them to speed up the hiring process of a GM? And I guess the second question would be, do you think this opens up the search even further to some new candidates that might have not been, in the picture before?
Tell me if this is crazy, but I actually feel like in the span of 3 hours, the position that this team is in has changed so dramatically to a
well, it's not crazy because they got the first pick, Jack.
I thought they were in a very unfavorable position. Now I feel like it's actually favorable. I don't even think it's in the middle. I think it's a good spot where they are at right now. And it makes the GM hire, it makes me a lot more nervous for this next general manager to come in because, my God, dude, do not fuck this up. Now you have the first overall pick. You have so many pending RFAs. You can wake up on June 28th and you have 2 defensemen that are hitting their primes and one that's supposed to be an absolute stud. So it makes me really nervous. Do I think they open it up more? No, because not that I know for a fact or anything, but I'm just going to guess that they've done their due diligence here and talked to as many executives as they possibly can. What I think is important is find a GM that has I don't need to see anything bold anymore. I thought I had to, but now I don't. I don't know if I
have a question on bold for you.
Yeah.
Do you consider Peter Chiarelli bold? Because we had to call you out on that ridiculous.
Yeah, all right. Let's handle
this.
Jack,
it's the elephant everybody wants to hear. This is what everybody wants to hear.
Yeah.
I want an apology because that was absurd.
I am sorry for it now, but if it was 4 hours ago,
Jack,
number one pick does not change your Chiarelli stance.
No, it actually does though.
He would trade it for Griffin Reinhart
because you're afraid he would trade the number 1 overall pick for a 3rd-line grinder.
Well, maybe, but I don't want to lie. I wasn't lying when I said
Strome for
That's
Eberle.
The problem. People thought it was satire. It wasn't.
Yeah, I know.
Jack, Jack, you're a young kid. You're a good kid, but you're a young kid.
He's not that young, Ethan. He's not that young.
He's a young kid.
He's not Chiarelli young.
Listen. He's just a kid.
He's
all
not
right?
Chiarelli young, okay?
He's just a
You
kid.
can't make excuses for him. I feel
Jack, I
like
don't
we're the
think you
husband and wife
understand.
arguing about our child right now.
He's a Rocco. He's a young kid. Jack,
California
I don't
water
think.
Not that
Shut up,
young,
Greeny.
Ethan. He's not that young.
He's a young kid.
He's a
I
young
don't
man.
think you
We'd agree on young man.
Rocco. Jack, you're a young man. I don't think you understand. There used to be a podcast, a very popular podcast called Obstructed Views, hosted by yours truly. And every opening before the podcast, we would do a skit, like a very over-the-top, hilarious skit. And people loved it. And probably 50% of those skits involved fake phone calls between Garth Snow and Peter Chiarelli. And Garth Snow fleecing Peter Chiarelli for ridiculous sums, ridiculous hauls. And this is who I'm co-hosting with now, is just someone who doesn't get it, who doesn't get the history, who doesn't understand the severity of what he suggested publicly on his X.com account. He typed out the words Peter Chiarelli and tweeted them in a serious manner.
Now, he was not doing it for clicks.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I wasn't. I swear.
God.
I wish you were.
Do you?
We'll move on. Did you learn your lesson?
Yeah, I learned. Gary Bettman hooked me up.
Okay.
All
right, that's it. He apologized. He learned his lesson. Rocco, he's just a kid.
It's hand-up accountability.
Young kid.
He's just a young man, and I mean, I now I feel bad because Ethan basically, you're like someone who's dating someone who wants their ex back. Essentially, the way Ethan described that whole situation. Unobstructed views. We used to do this, and you don't get it. So like, you're just what's available now, Jack.
I'm just saying. Listen,
I do feel bad.
That's
Like,
just a fact.
As ridiculous as the Chiarelli thing was, now I sort of feel bad for you.
It's okay.
Well, we know Ethan wants to move back to Brooklyn anyway.
I do. I'd love to.
But Ethan's not a young man. That's the problem with Brooklyn.
I'm an old man. An old
Doesn't
man
line up anymore.
who, as a young man, once interviewed Josh Hosang on his podcast, Obstructed Views.
Well, now we
Back
can go and
to-
get good prospects with the number 1 overall pick. It's a new day.
Exactly.
Back to it though. Like, who do you guys trust now? Who do you hand the keys to?
Not Peter Chiarelli.
Okay, we established that. He's done.
Jack, this is just going to be a running joke, and you have to accept that. It's one of those.
Yeah. It's like calling
it's
me
a
Moses.
fluent. When you said it's a fluent situation, episode 1, I'll never forget that. It's just going to be a running joke.
What a way
Chiarelli's
to
going to be a running joke. It is what it is.
Wait, so Jack, who have you moved on to then?
I don't know because I'm like shook. I don't know who I trust now. Like, I thought we were going into a situation where, okay, like hopefully this guy can come in and somehow change this thing and perform a little bit of a miracle. But now, okay, like we got our miracle and we don't need one. Now we just need somebody who is going to make good, responsible decisions. And I just don't know. Like Bergevin and Yarmo, 2 candidates that have been out there for us. Like these guys are not shy to push the button, and that now makes me a little more nervous because I just don't know if it's as necessary. Like, to me,
It's definitely still necessary.
It is.
in
I
some
think
ways.
there are plenty of members of the current Islanders team who could benefit from another fiery French Canadian coming in here and telling them to pack their shit.
And winning the lottery is something that should potentially save the franchise, not save current roster players.
Right.
But
Now,
what I'm saying is I want to resign Noah Dobson. Like that to me, with this happening, like that to me is definite. That should happen 100%. Like now you have even more youth that like he fits like the age of this team more than players older. Like that's more what I'm talking about when it
the
comes
thing
to
that
being
doesn't fit
bold.
though is that he's not good, but okay.
When it comes to making a bold decision, make a bold decision on an older player, not a younger player. That's all I ask.
Well, that's the thing, Jack, is the bold decision is making a decision on a guy like Noah Dobson. It's
Right.
not so bold to say, oh, we need to move Ryan Pulock, who's washed. That's not really
That's
bold.
fine with me.
Bold is selling a player at the right time. So bold could be moving a
Say
player
it.
like Noah Dobson. Bold could be,
Say it.
what am I going to say?
Say it. I know you're going to say it. Say it.
I don't even know what you think I'm going to say.
No,
Say it
I
for me.
know what you're going to say. You don't even know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say. Bold is, say it.
Matt Barzell?
No,
God,
not Barzell.
dude.
You're talking about a player getting traded?
Yes, say it.
I would say bold for me would be Dobson.
Okay, we agree. There's one more that you know. I know you're thinking of it.
Sorokin?
No, Jesus Christ, Jack.
Sorry,
not-
had to.
It wouldn't be one of the obvious. Is
The
it,
captain.
Oh, Anders Lee, yeah. That too, but even a guy like Pajot, like how much more expendable does he become if you bring another center into the fold?
Insanely expendable.
So it's one of those things. Even with Barzell and Horvat, like say you draft Misa, does Barzell go back to center? Does he stay on the wing? There's
So much roster flexibility. Misa played wing before he converted to center.
And that's what they need. And I think as young players, unless you're like potentially that two-way juggernaut, like a Cal Ritchie type, if you're more of an dynamic offensive play driving type guy, I'm very okay with starting a guy on the wing to get used to the NHL and then transitioning to center. So I think that's sort of the method they would use on Michael Misa. But again, the flexibility is what's key here. The flexibility is what we've been dying for. And it's amazing. It's potentially come ahead of schedule.
Wait, can I ask you guys this?
We got way off track.
Yeah, we got really off track. This is like a free for all episode, but you know
That's
what?
fine.
Yeah,
I blame
this
Peter
is-
Chiarelli.
That is, I mean, that's just the worst part of this episode. But about the draft, so I was like, a couple of my friends were texting me like, "Oh, who are we taking? We taking Hagens now?" Is there a scenario where if they take any of the top three guys, you'd be upset? Like, can they fuck this up?
It's
I
top
think
six.
if they take Hagen's first overall, they fucked it up.
I'll
Like
be
you would be,
furious if they
you would be,
trade
you would
the
be.
pick.
No, okay, wait. So you'd be furious if they traded the pick, but would you guys be furious if they stayed at one and took Hagens?
Yes.
So I love Higgins, and you guys all know that. I've been on him for a while. That being said, if you take Higgins number one overall, just from a value standpoint in this draft, that's sort of, quite honestly, a country club move. Like, oh, we're going to take the hometown kid because we like value wise, truly right now, it's Schaefer and Misa and then Higgins. Yes, you'd love to have him. Yes, if you pass on him, he'll probably make you pay some point down the road and it'll upset us. But it's one of those things. It's just, you got to go with the best value.
You know for a fact, by the way, that Ledecky and Malkin were watching that, praying that they got the third overall pick so they didn't have to be in this.
He couldn't get third overall, though. They could only get 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so then second overall.
Yeah, but even second overall, I think it would be. And again, I love the guy, Kid Higgins.
I still think it makes the decision easier for them than first.
Yeah, first you have to. I think you have to take one of these guys, and I think the fact, like, if you go Misa, the fact that he's ready is going to make it more okay versus Higgins. And you know, we all know the storylines with Higgins. He's grew up an Islander fan. Yes, in a perfect world for him, if they somehow got a 3 pick or a 4 pick and he landed there, great. But just doesn't seem like it's going to happen now. But you got to take the top talent. The ultimate goal is winning, not having fun with the hometown kid. So you got to take the best.
By the way,
so
I agree with you, obviously. Can we just circle back since I've made 2 errors talking about the draft already?
Sure.
Are we in the trust tree?
We are always.
Okay. I just have a feeling that there are plenty of people out there who are the same as me. You guys may be as well. I have no idea how this draft worked.
No, I didn't. Even when
They're
they were
explaining odds and ping pong balls.
Oh, the lottery? Yeah.
Not a clue. I'm sitting there on my phone. Bucci Gross is going like, oh, and we're going to do this drawing and that drawing. And then I'm like, all right, man, just like update the odds for me. That's all I need.
The actual like the system of it was very confusing, but I did
intentionally, so it was easier to rig.
Yeah, of course. But I like how they kind of like when it came to the final round when we were still alive after the initial ping pong balls, I liked how they kind of showed like the Islanders.
What do you need? Yeah.
Like that made me happy because a lot of times you watch these lotteries and you have no clue what's going on and just the team pops up and that it is what it is. So I thought they actually did a good job in the second half of it of showing what each team needed. And I'm not going to lie.
Still didn't understand it.
When they came back from commercial break, my heart hadn't pounded like that due to a hockey team in quite some time. I was just praying and praying and praying we'd win. And they showed, I think it was like 18.5% when there was 6 teams remaining. And It was like a 3 or 4-way tie with the 18%. And I'm just thinking to myself, it's going to be typical Islanders. They're going to flash it in front of us, show it 18.5%, just like the Sharks and whomever else, and we're not going to actually win. And then that 13 popped up, that Matt Barzal number. I was jumping for joy. I was in the shop watching. The guys working with me had no clue why I was reacting in such a manner, but I was ecstatic. It's the luck
Free pizza for everyone.
No, let's not go that far, Jack.
Well, I told you guys this. I was watching it, and my dad just goes, "Oh, it's 13. It's 13." I'm like, "All right, so what the hell does that matter? I don't know what that matters." And then they announced, "Oh, the first pick is the New York Islanders," and I lost my mind. I had no idea how the draft worked. The worst part about I mean, this was a great night. The worst part about it was John Butchergross saying "Holy shnikes." That was the worst part of the entire thing. But
Really, only you can find a negative in such a beautiful evening.
I could because John Butchergross sucks. But anyway,
He does, but I thought he did a good job tonight.
He rated my chicken parm highly, so
no,
he's in my book.
I thought he did. I thought he did a fine job. I have a problem with him. But this like when the thing that did annoy me, the other thing. So two things, Rocco, that I found that annoyed me. They didn't do the cards. I liked when they had the suspense of flipping the card over with the team logo.
Because they didn't do the cards because it was a live version.
Of course. But I wish that they could have somehow done, flipping something.
Greeny likes cards. Okay.
That's your nitpicking.
I do like cards.
With all due respect, that's a dumb reason.
All right, I mean, that's fair. I have a lot of dumb points.
No, you don't have a lot of dumb points, but that was one.
All right, that's fair.
Oh, I want the cards.
But you know what? No,
give a shit about the cards. You could keep the cards forever. I don't care. We won.
Yeah, the fact that they won, yeah, keep the cards. Whatever.
Yeah. Let's keep this a positive one because we had a pretty negative season. We don't need to go down the other direction again.
So, do you guys think, talking about the whole season, so like if you have to reevaluate this whole season, knowing what we know now and how it turned out, how would you grade this season? Is this a success overall?
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but once like the draft stuff comes into play, I sort of lump that in with the next season, if that makes sense.
You equate that to like the off season in between.
Yeah, now this to me this is like part of the 2026. Like we have a new GM, we have a new ho-ho GM, whatever you want to call it, coming in. It's no more Lou, so like yeah, you could say oh, it was a success as a whole, which of course now it is because they're getting a number 1 overall pick and it's what they so desperately needed. But I kind of equate it more to like now this is the beginning of what goes on next season. But as far as, a stroke of luck to potentially take them out of mid is just unbelievable because Ethan and I, and I believe Jack as well, we were constantly talking about teams like the Dallas Stars, the Winnipeg Jets, those sort of teams that have these big windows that are now open with players they drafted and developed. And we did mention they would need some luck at some point if this was to work. And it seems like it came because now you have Barzal, Horvat, Sorokin. If you want to re-sign Dobson, Romanov, a solid core where, like Ethan said before, you can draft this player and you don't have to be the Chicago Blackhawks or the San Jose Sharks. You can potentially be like the Dallas Stars in 2 to 3 years if you stay patient, keep drafting and developing. Oh, by the way, next year we have 2 first-round picks. So suddenly it seems like this prospect pool could explode. I saw a recent ranking where I believe they had it 19th. Now you add a number 1 overall pick to that. I think they could technically be top 10 just because, it'll be top heavy, but the firepower at the top, Richie, Misa or Schaefer, Iserman, Danny Nelson's not a top prospect, but a very nice prospect that maybe you could protect.
George.
Third line guy. George, solid defensively. So you really are in a nice spot. You really could set this thing up. You still got to be patient, but you got to be aggressive now. Now I think that's the main word I'd use as opposed to if we got the 10th pick. Now you can go out and be aggressive, try to spend some money and turn this thing around a little bit quicker as opposed to if you landed at 10 and you got a prospect that's 2-3 years away.
I totally agree. I'm so grateful that over the last several years, we haven't really had a season that's just been tanked from the start, except for that 2022 COVID one. Like so many of these teams have to go through absolute hell to get where we are. And 2 months ago, we were all up in arms because Paul Mary scored a goal that didn't count. And, that was a huge game for the Islanders to get closer to a playoff spot. The fact that, like, they were fighting for a playoff spot in the same season where they just got two top tier prospects and had their best player not even playing this season with one goalie all at the same time. It's just such an unbelievable feeling as a fan. And you guys know how much I hate the NBA and the whole like tanking mentality and all of that. The fact that we escaped all of that and we just did it all while we were competing. We just did it right, man. Like I'm
Jack, say
really
it.
happy.
Got insanely
Jack,
lucky.
say it. Lou Masterclass.
It was all one big masterclass by Lou
Stop.
Lamoriello. And you know what? You know what, Ethan? Ethan, you're gonna have to let me finish respectfully. When Lou Lamoriello left the Devils, what he left behind has been noted as not great. And Devils fans, like, I really feel like don't even appreciate him as much as they should, especially this generation of them, for bringing them 3 cups because of what he left behind. What he has somehow, whether it was luck as a result, man, of being in the right position, what he has passed along to this next GM, like, is unreal. Like, no excuses. He did not leave this team in shit. What a way for him to go out, honestly. Quite
All
the
right,
legacy.
I'll bring some common sense back to the podcast. Thank you, Brock Nelson. Because without Brock Nelson, this team is a mess.
How much do you appreciate him? You want to bring him back?
Not that much. I would actually appreciate him if he just fucked off to Minnesota.
Did you guys see the Eric Hornick tweet after the lottery?
No.
So Eric Hornick goes, I couldn't love this tweet anymore. He goes, the New York Rangers earned all 8 points over the Islanders this season.
Yeah.
Had the Islanders won one of those games in regulation and every other game this season stayed the same, the Rangers would have won the lottery. And instead they're picking 12.
I watched Ranger fans take over our building screaming Rempe. I went to the Garden and watched us get shut out. It actually makes it all worth it now. Thank you, Greeny.
The best.
I mean, like, that was just the cherry on top of this whole night because I was too busy celebrating. I don't know about you guys. Like, I was so busy celebrating them getting the first pick. I had no idea how the rest of the order shook out. And so I looked back like 10 minutes after. I'm like, okay, well, how's the rest of the first round? When I saw the Rangers were at 12, I'm like, this night just can't get any better.
Well, you know what's funnier with that, Greeny, is they might not even keep that pick. They might have to give it to Pittsburgh. And if they decide they keep it, they would give up automatically their 2026 pick. So they're kind of in an awkward position. So
it's beautiful.
I have a Patrick Waugh question.
Go for it.
Most of his success throughout like the last decade came from coaching like younger players and juniors and developing them, right? It kind of helps me now, like, to see that we're gonna have like 2 young players in our lineup. Like, I feel like there's more of a fit for Patrick Waugh here now than there was before.
And it's going to be players that are more the skill set that he wants, right? Faster, get the puck out, carry up through the neutral zone. It'll give him more of a chance if he's here to play the system I think he's trying to force this team to play, because clearly who he had last year were not the right pieces. I don't know if he'll be back, but I'm sure if he is, he'll be much happier than he was last season.
Let me add this. This is Nick from Watch the Stats, who does prospect projections. Michael Misa is my model's favorite prospect this year. On top of that, someone asked how he projects versus Fantilli, and he said better.
And Fantilli's a dog. That dude, I love that play. I love Fantilli. Like, Fantilli's the type of guy, when he's 23, 24 and fills out just a little bit more, he's going to be a menace in a playoff series. That's the type of guy you want on your team. I don't think Misa will have that sort of edge Fantilli plays with, but he might be able to have a little bit more speed and skill than Fantilli.
What do we have to do to make sure that whoever they draft avoids Bridgeport?
Well, they're not gonna. That's the nice part here too, Greeny. I'm actually glad you brought that up. When you have the top tier talent, like they're going to get,
They could just
the
jump
number one
right
overall
in.
pick, they're probably not going to need Bridgeport at all. And I'm not 100% certain on this. You could maybe check now, Greeny, or check after the episode ends. I actually think Misa would be eligible for the AHL because he had the exceptional status and played an extra year of a junior. So that's another interesting wrinkle. You could have a kid like that, and if he doesn't start off so hot or whatever else, give him a little stint in Bridgeport. Not that you would want to do that, but I believe he would be the only player in this draft that would be eligible for Bridgeport right away.
You are correct. He was born in 2007, which is crazy. So he is eligible for Bridgeport.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he played almost this whole season as a 17-year-old, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, so he's relatively young for this draft, so should be interesting.
Yeah, he only turned 18 in late February.
Yeah, bottom line is they're two very good players, and the Islanders will be adding one of them to their team, which is extremely exciting.
And so one last tidbit on Misa. I was just looking up the eligibility, and so it comes up here. So he missed 6 weeks during the season this year with a fractured tibia. And even missing 6 weeks, he came back and he averaged 1.24 points per game, which is a higher points per game than John Tavares, who I'll bleep, Connor McDavid, and Shane Wright.
Yeah.
Pretty
Special
good.
player.
Pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, for sure. And it might be one of those things, although he's not generational. Who knows? People didn't think Celebrini would pop right off the bat in the league, but maybe he could be similar.
I think like what you guys said, this was the break that they needed. Now it's what are they going to do with it?
Be bold. Go be bold after.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. More episodes soon. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to the Patreon. Get in on the action. Get in on the Discord chat. It's been awesome. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Father wears his Sunday best. Mother's tired, she needs a rest. The kids are playing up downstairs. Sister's sighing in her sleep. Brother's got a date to keep, he can't hang around. Io's house in the middle of our street. Io's house in the middle of our... Io's house.